Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. My question is to the Minister for Employment, Senator Cash, and I refer to evidence in estimates that the Department of Employment knew in advance of the plan to replace the Australian crew of the MV Portland with a foreign crew and set sail the following day. I also refer to evidence that the Minister and her office were informed in advance. Once informed, what action did the Minister take to defend Australian jobs on the MV Portland?
The Minister for Employment, Senator Cash.
Mr. President, and I thank Senator Sterle for the question. And if Senator Sterle was listening to the evidence at estimates, he would know that it is always the case in these types of disputes that the department is made aware of them. But in terms of what occurred on the MV Portland, that is a matter for the company, nothing more and nothing less. In relation to, though, the issue of Australian jobs, I see that Senator Sterle, a great defender of the actions of the MUA, and just remember, in this case, Mr. President, the MUA members held that ship hostage for months. They sat on that ship in breach of orders that came out of—
On my left. Order on my left. Senator Wong, a point of order.
Point of order, direct relevance, and I know it's, Senator Cash does like to hit any union she can in any opportunity, but she was actually asked about what action she took. She was asked. I refer to evidence that the Minister and her office were informed in advance. Once informed, what action did the Minister take to defend Australian jobs on the MV Portland?
Thank you, Senator Wong. The Minister did explain that she believed it's a matter, or stated it's a matter for the company and the employees, but I will allow the Minister to continue answering. She has a minute and 14. Minister.
Thank you, Mr. President. And as I was saying, the MUA, the workers on that ship, were in breach of orders made by the Fair Work Commission. Those orders had been challenged in the federal court, and the federal court had referred them back to the Fair Work Commission. So, Senator Sterle, you and those on that side of the chamber can come into here and defend the unlawful actions of the MUA, but I will not. But I'll tell you what I will defend. I will defend the small business owners in Portland who did not get business because you held the ship hostage. I will stand here and defend. Our colour indicates that more than 2,000 people are employed directly and indirectly by its aluminium smelter in Portland. Those jobs have been saved because of the actions of our co-op. But, Mr. President, I will not come in here and I will not defend unlawful action by the most militant union in Australia that held a ship hostage and almost destroyed jobs of small business owners in the town of Portland.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Sterle, supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do have a supplementary. I refer to confirmation that the Minister's department was aware that security guards would be present on the MV Portland during its midnight replacement of the Australian crew. Was the Minister or her office aware that guards would be present? And does she support the use of security guards to forcibly remove Australian workers, Minister?
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. President. And again, I'm absolutely gobsmacked. Senator Sterle comes in here to defend the actions of the MUA, who were themselves in breach of—
Pause the clock. Order. Senator Sterle.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Point of order.
On a point of order.
Right.
My question clearly had two parts, Mr. President. I asked very clearly, was the Minister or her office aware that guards would be present? And then I asked, Mr. President, does the Minister support the use of security guards to forcibly remove Australian workers? She's gone nowhere near it. She's avoiding it.
Order on my right. On my right. I'll remind the Minister of the question and advise the Minister she has 51 seconds in which to answer. Minister.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I will remind Senator Sterle and those on the other side that the context of the MV Portland setting sail was that there were 3 orders of the independent umpires that were being ignored. The decision to remove the employees on the ship was a decision made by the company. The company made that decision after its ship had been held hostage by the MUA for a number of months.
Order, Minister. Senator Wong, a point of order.
Thank you, Mr President. Direct relevance, and I'd refer you, Mr President, to the statement you made at the commencement of sittings in this session, where you did make some comments about ministers' relevance to the question. You did, today you have done as you said you would in that statement, that is to remind the minister of the question.
Order, Senator McDonald.
There was only one question, was whether or not the minister was aware and her office were aware that guards would be present and whether she supports the use of security guards to forcibly remove Australian workers. So a rant about the MUA, with respect, cannot be directly relevant.
Thank you, Senator Wong. I will remind the minister of the question. She has 19 seconds in which to answer the question. Minister.
Mr President, I say to Senator Sterle, the context, so in other words, the people going on to take the MUA members off, the context of the MV Portland setting sail was that there were 3 orders of the independent umpires being ignored.
Order, Minister. Senator Sterle, point of order.
Thank you, Mr President. On point of order, I cannot say it again clear enough. There were 2 parts to my question. The minister only has to answer my question. I'm not asking for a rant against any union. It's either a yes or no, Mr President. With the greatest respect, she is not relevant to the question.
Thank you, Senator Sterle. As previous presidents have often said, and I did indicate this in my statement at the beginning of this session, I can't direct the minister how to answer, but I can inform the minister whether he or she is relevant, directly relevant. In this case, I'll remind the minister again of the question that has been asked and advise the minister she has 3 seconds. Order on my left. Order. Minister.
Again, thank you, Mr President. I will not stand here and defend the unlawful actions of the MUA.
Senator Sterle, if it relates to the question, the time has now expired, but I'll allow you to give you.
Thank you, Mr President. And it's twice now you've brought the minister to answer the question. She's refused to do it. I'd like to ask the question again in case there's some confusion, Mr President.
You have a final supplementary question, Senator Sterle, so it's your right if you wish to
can't ask this first supplementary again because it wasn't answered.
Well, you can. It still fits within the definition of a supplementary question, so you can ask that if you wish.
I'd like to ask it again, please, Mr President. I refer to confirmation that the Minister's Department was aware that security guards would be present on the MV Portland during its midnight replacement of the Australian crew. Was the Minister or her office aware that guards would be present, and does she support the use of security guards to forcibly remove Australian workers?
I'll call the minister.
Thank you, Mr President. And if you listen to my previous answer, I did answer that question and I have nothing further to add.
Thank you, Minister. On my left. On my left. Order. Senator Back.
Yeah, thanks.